I've installed a new mod, though it's actually a very old mod, but I only just recently found out about it because one of you guys recommended it. And it's called Learn All the Things. Now, on its surface, that seems like a really, really bad idea, but I was looking at the description here, and I figured out that you can tweak it in such a way that it is not so objectionable. How do you do that? Well, if you look over here in the description of the mod itself, he talks about how there's a 50% chance every 20 minutes that a particular employee of yours will gain a point of skill in all 5 skills. It doesn't say that in the description, but I measured it myself and it's all 5 skills. So you got boarding, engineering, piloting, management, and morale. That's 5 skills. Now, the way that skills work in X4 is you have 4 roles and 5 skills. And that 5th skill is morale. So for each of the 4 skills, other than morale, there's a role. So for boarding, there is Marines. Boarding plus morale is Marines. Piloting plus morale is Captain. Management plus morale is Manager. And engineering plus morale is Service Crew. That's how you do it. Now, that means that morale is extremely important and applies to improving the proficiency in all 4 roles. What this mod does is, for every ship that's not docked, because he mentioned that if they're docked at stations, they won't receive any experience. For every ship that's not docked, every 20 minutes, there is a probability that a crew member will gain 1 point of experience in all 5 skill sets. Now, what is a point? A point is a third of a star. So there's 5 stars total, and each star has 3 points. So that's 15 points across all 5 stars. That means that when you have a brand new person with no skills at all, after this has cycled 15 times, there'll be 5 stars in everything. So what does it take to get them 15 points? Well, that's what your probabilities are for. Now, every 20 minutes, you have 50% chance. And this, by the way, is default config for this mod. You can change it to whatever you want. You can make it 5% chance. You can make it 100% chance, whatever you want. So that's what makes it comfortable, is that you can decide what you want your ambient skill improvements across the board to be. Now, there is a random factor, and randomness requires a bit of difficult math. And it's not actually the math that's difficult, it's the concepts that are difficult. It makes it a little bit challenging to understand in your head what actually the numbers are doing practically. So let's take the default, and also notice that there is a setting in the mod that's on by default where if your crew member already has stars, that it will reduce the chance of them getting more points. And the way this works is, if it's on, which it is again by default, what will happen is if a crew member has 2 stars already, then it will take the chance or the probability of getting an extra point, and it will divide it by 2 because they have 2 stars. If they have 3 stars, it will take that chance and divide it by 3. If they have 4 stars already, it'll take that chance and divide by 4. So I thought, well, let's ask ChatGPT what this really means, practically speaking. So I asked it, if there's a 12.5% chance that X increases by 1 point every 20 minutes, what is the average time it takes for X to increase 3 points? Now, what I'm talking about here is that X is how many points you have, and the 12.5% chance is assuming they have 4 stars. So if you look at the way it works in the mod, it takes the probability and divides by the number of stars. So if you start off with 50% chance of every 20 minutes you get a point, and they have 4 stars, so you take 50% divided by 4 is 12.5%. So 1 in 8. So you have a 1 in 8 chance every 20 minutes of gaining a point. Now, a point is a third of a star. So to increase from 4 stars to 5 stars, you need 3 points. And that's what I was asking about. How long, on average, does it take to go from 4 stars to 5 stars with the default settings of this mod? So ChatGPT tells me how it comes up with it, and I double checked and it is correct. So what it ultimately concluded was that on average, it takes 480 minutes, which is 8 hours of game time, to increase from 4 stars to 5 stars using the default. 8 hours of time. Now, how much is 8 hours of game time in X4? Well, if you use SATA, obviously it's going to go by faster. Or when you're not playing, it's not going by at all. So in the months that I've been playing this save, I have about 2 days and 20 hours of game time in this save. So not even 3 days. And here we're talking about 8 hours of game time on average now. So some will get it a little faster and some will get it slower. 8 hours to switch from being a 4-star crew member to 5 stars. Now, to me, that feels a touch fast, just because I know there's natural ways that your crew members will gain experience, and they don't gain experience just sitting around. So if you're assuming that if they're sitting on the ship, they're training in all the different things that they can do. They can training in boarding, they're training in engineering, they're training in piloting. And you're assuming that they're taking some courses on this. Every 20 minutes now, you're going to have a chance of bumping up. And I'm thinking, it's 8 hours from 4 to 5, but from 0 to 1 or 1 to 2, it's quite a lot quicker. I think I'm going to cut this in half and say that the base chance is 25%. And then it'll take that and divide by 2 or 3 or 4. And then that will take a whole lot longer. Well, I guess that would be 16 hours, really, to bump a star up on average. And I think I'm comfortable with that. And that's all of your crew, mind you. So if you have hundreds and hundreds of crew members, then, well, you've put the time in, and those crew become more valuable with time. Now, that also means that the new crew that you buy, those start out fresh, and you have to make decisions like, well, what do I do with my experienced crew? Do I want to put my experienced crew in a dangerous situation? And things like that. Because I know for a fact that when I was boarding recently, I was boarding those builders, and I saw the, 40-some Marines that were veterans just get wasted because I didn't bother to disable the target first before boarding because, well, I didn't have any ships there with weapons and I didn't really want to take the reputation hit. So now you have a real reason to consider whether or not you want to take a reputation hit. If you take a reputation hit by disabling the weapons of the ship that you're boarding, then you're not so likely to lose your valuable Marines in the boarding process. And also, if they're valuable, if they are skilled, then they are less likely to die as well. And if you buy fresh Marines, then that you haven't invested time in, and you can throw those into the meat grinder, and that's the same as it always has been. But as time goes by, your crew become more valuable, and you have to consider that maybe you don't want to throw their lives away in a reckless situation like that, and maybe it's worth taking the reputation hit by disabling those turrets. So that's my thoughts on that. But I think I'm going to start with 25% instead of 50. Now, if we look at the config file, which is this is the config file for Learn All the Things. And I was just testing it by saying chance to improve 100%. We're going to improve it by a whole star. And we're not going to divide. He misspells divided. I don't know. D-E-V-I-D-E-D. No, that's not how you spell divide. But maybe he comes from a country that does spell it that way. I don't know. Anyway, I was just doing this for testing. So what I'm going to do is put this down to 25 and put this back down to 1 and then switch this back to true, like so. Save. So now, when I load up the game, every 20 minutes, because that's not... Actually, it's right here. I could change that. I could change the interval, but you're not supposed to. I mean, it's not part of the config. I'm pretty sure that that 20 minutes is fine. Wait, 20 minutes. This says 20s, player age plus 20, what, second? Is that what that means? Anyways, I'm not going to mess with it. It's 20 minutes. Every 20 minutes, this thing ticks over for all of your crew everywhere and will give a now 25% chance for the base people and a smaller chance for the experienced people of ticking them up 1 point. And after they get 3 points, that's a whole star. So if I start noticing that, it's just too fast, I'll just bump this down. And it's super easy. You just go into the config file and then I'll put this down to like, 20, 15, 10, that kind of thing. Who knows? We'll see how it feels. But 25 to me seems like it probably is good because 50 felt a bit high. So that's learn all the things. And when I was thinking about all the crew, I had the uncomfortable thought that what we are really dealing with is slaves. Because you don't pay them a wage or salary or whatever. They're not paid regularly. You buy them once and you can actually sell them again. I'm pretty sure you can sell them. When you go back to, like when you go to a station and you have a bunch of crew on a ship and you reduce the number of crew on that ship in the station, you're getting the money back that you spent, or you're getting the money back that the station believes those crew are worth, which essentially means that they're slaves. So you're buying and selling crew as a one-time fee, and while they're in your possession on your ships, they're not getting paid, and they do exactly what you want. So yes, X4 is all about slavery. We just don't think about it. So there's another mod that I installed at your recommendation, and that mod is called Better Piracy. Now, Better Piracy is a mod that I don't know anything about yet, but from the description, it looks rather cool. So you might be familiar with the surrender option in the comms, and it looks like it replaces the surrender dialog option with a harass menu. And when you go into harass, you get different, menu action. I don't know exactly how this changes things, but it sounds cool in that you have more options in terms of how you're doing your pirating. Subordinates of the ship you are piloting will smartly participate in the harass operation, helping you while avoiding killing the target, which is nice. I like that idea. Use ships with a lot of shields and prefer high shield, low hull damage weapons for maximum effectiveness. Or create your own pirate imperium, which looks like it says you'll be able to instruct your most experienced pilots, 3 stars or more. Okay, so there you go again with the more valuable crew, to do harass operations on their own. Just assemble a small fleet and assign the Corsair default order to their leader. Ooh. Tip, the Argon trading station in Hatikva's Choice is usually full of HOP and ZIA traders. ZIA. Maybe ZYA, ZIR, ARG and HAT will not protect nor care about them. That's a good spot to start. Okay. Added a lot of config options to let you tune the piracy. So let's go in the game and just see what that looks like. So here we are in the game. And if you see extension options and go in here, you now have Better Piracy taking up way, way too much space rather than having their own menu like everybody else. Bad modder. Normally you're meant to have just the name of your mod and then you click on it like Dynamic Wars does here, and then you can go in and do all your stuff. But Better Piracy author decided to just shove all of their stuff in the root menu. Anyways, here is the options for Better Piracy, which looks rather extensive. Harass shield threshold, early harass hull threshold, harass bail attempts before mid harass. Oh gosh, there's so many to look at. Well, it's really, really extensive, and I think I'm going to have to study this and figure out what each of these options does and which one I prefer. Like, let's just take a look at a couple of them. During a harass operation, if the percentage of shields of the target is greater than this value, the operation will be rolled back to the shoot their shields down phase. Also, the shoot their shields down phase will finish 10% under this value. All right. So in this particular case, what that means is you're wanting their shields to stay under 20%. If their shields pop up over 20%, then your ships will automatically shoot the shields down below 20%, which is really cool, actually. Early harass hull threshold. During the early phases of a harass operation, if the percentage of hull of target is greater than this value, the operation will be rolled back to the damage their hull phase. Okay, so these two are the same, but one's for shields and one's for hull. Harass bail attempts before mid. Don't know what that means, but okay. Once the number of bail checks has been done, oh, yes, please, because I have always been frustrated by where you calm them, they won't talk to you, you calm them again, they won't talk to you, and eventually they talk to you, and then they say piss off, or they bail. Bail checks. I assume that what this is talking about is bail checks. It's going to try and calm them to get them to bail. And in this case, the default is 3. Once 3 bail checks have been done, the hull requirement will be the one specified in mid-harass hull threshold instead of the one provided in early. Interesting. So mid-harass hull threshold. So this incrementally steps up the seriousness of your ships as they attempt to, well, essentially pirate like a medium ship. So if you want to pirate a medium ship, you essentially have to do all this manually. And it's really a hit and miss whether you're going to succeed or not. And a lot of times you calm them over and over again and you just don't get anywhere. So then you maybe damage them even more. And then you try the process again and you just keep going around trying to figure out, how am I going to get this person to give up their ship? And what this does is it lets you set the thresholds and the number of attempts to teach your NPCs how to get other ships to bail out. So there's an early and a mid and a late. Now, this first one should say early harass shield threshold. That's what it means. Now, late harass hull threshold. Keep pressure timer. During a harass operation, the amount of time that each maintain pressure check requires. A bail check will be triggered after each cycle and a pressure point will be added to the pilot. Okay. I do hope that they at least poke the target every once in a while to prevent them from hitting travel mode. Otherwise, they're going to just get away. Keep pressure max distance. Keep pressure max distance for large and XL ships. Pressure buildup rate. How much each pressure point undermines the target pilot morale. Oh, morale. Yeah, because morale isn't just for how good your pilots are at, boarding or service crew. Morale also determines when the target pilot that you're trying to get him to bail, how quickly he will bail. So if his morale goes down, this actually will notch down their morale, and eventually they give up because their morale has gone down to 0. I like this. This is really a lot nicer. It looks to me like it's actually replacing the game mechanic of piracy with this. Because if you're able to set how quickly their morale goes down, or it says harass base bail chance, percentage of harass bail checks that will pass in the best case scenario. And you even get to say what your reputation hit is. When enabled, the successful harass operations will decrease your reputation with the pilot's faction. Because that never happened before. Yeah. Okay, so that's on by default. The logic applied to determine if it happens is the same when you board L or XL ships. Okay, this is fascinating. I didn't know it was like this. This is really, really comprehensive. Combat-based bail chance. Percentage of combat bail checks that will pass in the best case scenario. It will be reduced by several factors such as pilot morale, etc. Combat reputation hit. Combat bailing pilots. Oh, yeah. Yes, I like all of this. Very, very nice. Thank you. Except for you should really put your mod in its own menu. That's it. All right. And then finally, we have a mod called Go Fix Your Face, which I saw in the featured mods section on the workshop on Steam. And Apparently, ever wondered why your ships were continuing to fight with 5% hull when clearly they needed to be fixed before they die? Yes. Did you also find yourself too lazy to go through all the menus and clicking to send them to a wharf to repair? Yes. Tell them, go fix your face. This mod adds a right-click menu order closest repair/resupply, which will immediately send that ship to the closest wharf, shipyard, or supply ship as appropriate. They will happily repair and rearm and then come back with a fixed face and ask for more. Okay. Selecting multiple ships at once is supported. Very nice. Yeah. I don't know why it's called fixing your face, but I like the idea of making the game more streamlined and better UI, so I am adding this mod. That's it for the 3 mods that I've added to the game at this time. As usual, you can find links in the description of VRO Episode 1 video in this playlist. I'm not going to put the whole mod list in every video of the series. That would be ridiculous and impossible to maintain, but I do maintain Episode 1 in case you missed the message that I gave a while back about that. So feel free anytime to go to episode 1 and get a current list of every mod that I'm using. Great. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.